On her wedding night, a 52-year-old woman lies beneath the bed in her white gown, waiting for a surprise. But what she hears from her Mafia Boss husband will shatter everything she believed about love and trust. If you want to know how Evelyn escapes this deadly trap, stay with me until the end. Like this video and comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The ivory silk of Evelyn Harper's wedding gown rustled softly as she shifted her weight beneath the king-sized bed. Dust tickled her nose. Her knees ached against the hardwood floor. She pressed one hand over her mouth to stifle a nervous giggle. 52 years old, and here she was, hiding under furniture like a teenager. But tonight was special. Tonight was her wedding night, and she wanted to surprise Adrian when he came upstairs. She'd seen it in a movie once. The bride waiting in an unexpected place, the groom's delighted laughter, the playful beginning to their new life together. Evelyn's heart hammered with anticipation. Through the gap between the bed skirt and the floor, she could see the bedroom door, still closed. Downstairs, she could hear the last of the wedding guests saying their goodbyes. The reception had been small, intimate. Just a few of Adrian's business associates and her best friend Lydia, who'd worn a strained smile all evening. "You barely know him," Lydia had whispered during the cake cutting. 6 months, Evelyn. That's nothing. But 6 months had been enough. 6 months of Adrian Volkov's intense attention, his expensive gifts, his promises of protection and devotion. After Richard's death 3 years ago, after 28 years of a comfortable but passionless marriage, Adrian had made Evelyn feel alive again. Desired. Cherished. She'd been a widow for too long. Her children, Michael in Seattle, Jennifer in Boston, had their own lives, their own families. They'd seemed relieved when she told them about Adrian, though neither had been able to attend the wedding on such short notice. "Mom deserves happiness," Jennifer had said over the phone, though her tone carried something Evelyn couldn't quite identify. Doubt, maybe. Or concern, but they didn't understand. They hadn't seen how Adrian looked at her, how he held her hand during their long dinners at the best restaurants in the city, how he'd proposed on the terrace of her brownstone overlooking the park. Her brownstone. The thought made her smile in the darkness under the bed. Richard had left her well provided for, the house in Brooklyn Heights, the rental properties in Manhattan, the substantial investment portfolio. She'd signed the prenup Adrian's lawyer had prepared, protecting her assets. Everything was proper, legal, sensible. She heard footsteps on the stairs. Evelyn's pulse quickened. She tucked her dress more tightly around her legs, making herself as small as possible. The bedroom door opened. "Finally." Adrian's voice, deep and familiar. "I thought they'd never leave." But there was another set of footsteps, heavier, a woman's heels clicking on the hardwood. Evelyn frowned. Why would Adrian bring someone upstairs? Maybe he needed help with something. Maybe, "You played that perfectly." The woman's voice was older, accented with the same Russian inflection that occasionally colored Adrian's speech. "She signed everything?" Evelyn's breath caught. She recognized that voice from the wedding. Elena Volkov, Adrian's mother, who'd flown in from Moscow just yesterday. Every page. Adrian's footsteps moved toward the window. The property transfer documents, the power of attorney, the revised will. She thinks they were just routine marriage paperwork. The floor seemed to tilt beneath Evelyn. Her fingers dug into the carpet. "And the house?" Elena asked. "In my name as of this morning. The lawyer filed the deed transfer right after the ceremony." Adrian laughed, a sound Evelyn had never heard from him before. Cold, calculated. She was so distracted by the wedding, she barely read what she was signing, just like the others. "Others?" Elena's voice sharpened. "Adrian, you promised me this would be the last time, after the disaster in Chicago." Chicago was different. That woman had children who asked questions. Evelyn's children live across the country and barely call her. Perfect. Evelyn's whole body had gone rigid. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. This had to be a nightmare. Some terrible dream brought on by wedding day stress and too much champagne. "The rental properties?" Elena continued, businesslike now, as if discussing a grocery list. "Already transferred to the LLC we set up. She thinks it's for tax purposes." Adrian's footsteps moved closer to the bed. Evelyn could see his polished black shoes just inches from her hiding place. "By the end of the month, everything she owns will be under my control. The investments, the cash accounts, even the jewelry." And if she becomes difficult, she won't. Look at her, desperate for affection, grateful that someone like me would want someone like her. Adrian's voice dripped with contempt. She's weak, lonely, easy. Each word landed like a physical blow. Evelyn bit down hard on her hand to keep from making a sound. Blood roared in her ears. Don't underestimate her, Elena warned. Desperate people can surprise you. She's not desperate anymore. She thinks she's in love. Adrian moved away from the bed toward the dresser. Besides, everything is legal. She signed the documents of her own free will. If she tries to fight, she'll lose. The lawyers made sure of that. Evelyn heard a drawer open. Close. Her mind raced, fragments of the past 6 months suddenly reorganizing themselves into a horrible new picture. The way Adrian had asked so many questions about her finances, the lunch he'd arranged with his lawyer to discuss protecting her assets, the romantic weekend in the Hamptons when he'd had her sign what he'd called standard estate planning documents. She'd been so flattered by his attention, so grateful, so stupid. When will you tell her? Elena asked. Tell her what? That you're leaving. You always leave eventually. Adrian was quiet for a moment. Few months. After the rental income is rerouted, after the investment accounts are liquidated and moved offshore. Then I'll tell her I made some bad business decisions, lost everything, need her to sign a few more papers to help fix it. And she will? Of course. She'll want to save me. Save us. That's what women like her do. His voice held absolute certainty. By the time she realizes what's happened, I'll be gone and she'll be destitute. The house will be sold, the accounts empty. She'll be too ashamed to tell her children, too broken to fight back. You're cruel, Elena said, but there was no judgment in her voice. Only observation. I'm practical. Sentiment is expensive. Evelyn's vision blurred. Tears streamed down her face, soaking into the carpet beneath her cheek. Her beautiful white dress, which had made her feel like a bride despite her age, now felt like a burial shroud. I'm going to shower, Adrian announced. Get rid of the smell of this farce. You should go back to your hotel. Call me tomorrow. We need to discuss the property in Miami. Mother, Adrian's voice softened slightly. Thank you for everything. I taught you well. Your father would be proud. Footsteps moved toward the door. It opened, closed. Elena was gone. Evelyn heard Adrian moving around the room, the closet door opening, the rustle of clothing. Then the bathroom door closed and water began running in the shower. She should move, should run, should do something. But her body refused to cooperate. She lay there trapped beneath the bed in her wedding gown, listening to her husband shower while her entire world collapsed around her. How long she stayed frozen, she didn't know. Minutes, an hour. The water shut off. Adrian emerged from the bathroom singing something under his breath. He moved around the room, and she heard the soft thud of his phone landing on the nightstand, the click of the lamp switch. The bed above her compressed as he lay down. Evelyn, he called out. Evelyn, where are you? His voice sounded concerned, loving, the perfect worried husband. She didn't answer. Couldn't. Probably fell asleep downstairs, he muttered. She heard him settle into the pillows. Within minutes, his breathing deepened into sleep. Evelyn waited. Her muscles screamed. Her face was sticky with tears and her nose was running, but she didn't dare move. Not yet. Finally, after what felt like hours, she heard it. The deep, rhythmic breathing of genuine sleep, light snoring. Moving with excruciating slowness, Evelyn inched backward from beneath the bed. Every muscle protested. Her dress caught on something and she had to stop, work it free, her hands shaking so badly she could barely grasp the fabric. When she finally emerged on the far side of the bed, away from Adrian's sleeping form, she stayed on her hands and knees for a long moment, just breathing. The room spun. She looked at the nightstand. Adrian's phone sat there, screen dark. Next to it, his wallet, his keys. Something shifted inside her. The crushing grief hardened into something else, something cold and clear. Evelyn rose silently to her feet. Her wedding dress hung heavy and wrinkled, but she moved with sudden purpose. She picked up Adrian's phone. His stupid, arrogant mistake. He'd never set a password that she'd seen. He'd unlock it with his face or his fingerprint, always in front of her, always casual. She lifted the phone toward his sleeping face. The screen lit up, and facial recognition flashed. Unlocked. Her hand steadied. She opened his email first. What she found made her stomach turn. Emails to his lawyer discussing the Harper acquisition, correspondence with bankers about account transfers, messages to someone named Dimitri about liquidating the Brooklyn properties. There were others too. Names of women, addresses in Chicago, Atlanta, Phoenix. She photographed everything. Email after email, clicking through with methodical precision. Her phone was downstairs in her purse, so she used Adrian's camera to photograph his screen, sending the images to her own email address in batches. His text messages were worse. Conversations with his mother that dated back months, planning every detail. His lawyer discussing how to structure the documents so they'd hold up in court if challenged. Messages to Dimitri that were coded but clearly criminal. Target secured, read one message from 3 weeks ago. Closing tomorrow. Tomorrow had been today, her wedding day. Evelyn moved to his photos, found pictures of documents she'd signed, photographed for his records. The property deed transfer. The power of attorney that she'd thought was just for medical decisions. The revised will that left everything to him if she died. If she died. The thought sent ice through her veins. She scrolled further, found photos of other women, older women, all of them, well-dressed, smiling at the camera, clearly in love with whoever was taking the picture. Adrian had done this before, multiple times. She recognized one woman from a news article she'd seen months ago. Missing person, suspected of leaving the country suddenly. Another from an obituary, died in a fall. Police ruled it accidental. Evelyn's hands were shaking again, but not from fear, from rage. She photographed everything, the documents, the messages, the photos. She went through his banking apps, his lawyer's contact information, his calendar with its cryptic appointments. Property sale, Brooklyn Heights, was scheduled for 2 months from now. When she'd documented everything she could find, she carefully placed the phone back exactly where it had been. She looked at Adrian sleeping peacefully and felt nothing but contempt. He thought she was weak, easy, broken. He had no idea what he'd just created. Evelyn moved silently across the room. In the closet, she pulled out jeans and a sweater, clothes she'd worn in her real life before she'd become the desperate widow in a white dress. She changed quickly, leaving the wedding gown in a heap on the closet floor. She found her wedding ring on the dresser where she'd placed it before hiding under the bed. She looked at it for a long moment, then put it on. Let him think everything was normal. Let him believe his plan was working. Downstairs, she found her purse and pulled out her phone. 3 in the morning. She pulled up her contacts, scrolled to Lydia's name, and typed a message. You were right. I need help. Can't talk now. Meet me tomorrow at your place, 9 a.m. Don't call. The message showed as delivered, then read. Then the 3 dots appeared as Lydia typed back. I'm here. Whatever you need. Evelyn closed her eyes. One ally. That was a start. She scrolled further in her contacts. Daniel Hayes, her lawyer. Richard's lawyer, really, but he'd handled the estate and knew her finances better than anyone. She'd need him. But not yet. Not in the middle of the night. She needed to think, plan. Evelyn moved to the kitchen and made coffee. Her hands were steadier now. As she waited for it to brew, she forwarded all the photos from her email to a cloud storage account Adrian didn't know about. Then she created a second backup and a third. She sent copies to Lydia with the message, "Don't open until we talk." The coffee maker beeped. She poured a cup and sat at the kitchen table, her kitchen table, in her house, that this man had stolen from her with kisses and lies. The enormity of it pressed down on her. Not just what he'd done, but what she'd allowed. She'd been so eager to believe someone could love her, want her, see value in her beyond her dead husband's money. She'd been a fool, but she was done being a fool. Evelyn pulled out a notepad and began to write. Everything she could remember from the conversation she'd overheard. Every detail. Elena's warnings, Adrian's timeline, the mention of other women, Chicago, the disaster there. She wrote until her hand cramped, until the sky outside began to lighten with pre-dawn gray. Then she hid the notes in a hollowed-out cookbook on the shelf, Richard's old hiding place for important papers, something Adrian would never think to look for. At 6, she heard movement upstairs. Adrian waking up. Evelyn took a deep breath. She arranged her face into the expression of a happy newlywed, smiled at her reflection in the kitchen window. The smile looked wrong, grotesque, but it would have to do. "Evelyn?" Adrian's voice called from upstairs. Darling? Down here, she called back, amazed at how normal her voice sounded. Making breakfast. He appeared in the kitchen doorway minutes later, wearing the silk robe she'd bought him as a wedding gift. He looked concerned, solicitous. Where were you last night? I was worried. I fell asleep on the couch, she lied smoothly. Too much champagne. I'm so sorry. He crossed to her, pulled her into an embrace. She forced herself not to flinch. His arms around her felt like a trap now, a cage. But she leaned into him, played the role. My beautiful bride, he murmured into her hair. I missed you. I'm here now. She pulled back to look at him. The face she'd thought was handsome now looked predatory. Cold eyes, calculating smile. How had she not seen it before? I have some business to attend to today, he said, releasing her. Boring meetings. But tonight, I thought we could go to that restaurant you love. Celebrate properly. That sounds perfect. She turned back to the stove, scrambling eggs she couldn't imagine eating. Will your mother be joining us? I'd love to get to know her better. She flew back to Moscow this morning, early flight. Of course she did. Evelyn plated the eggs, toast, poured coffee. They sat across from each other at the table, playing house. Did you sleep well? She asked. Like the dead. He smiled at her. Best sleep I've had in months. Must be the relief of finally making you my wife. Every word was a performance. Every smile a manipulation. She saw it all now, crystal clear. I love you, she said, testing the words in her mouth. They tasted like poison. I love you too, Evelyn. More than you know. They ate in companionable silence. Adrian checked his phone occasionally, typing responses. Evelyn wondered if he was messaging Dmitri, his lawyer, his mother, planning the next phase of her destruction. Let him plan. She had plans too now. At 8:30, Adrian kissed her goodbye. I'll be back by 6. Don't worry about dinner. I made reservations. I'll be here, she promised. The door closed behind him. She watched from the window as he climbed into his Mercedes and drove away. The moment his car turned the corner, she was in motion. She ran upstairs and showered, scrubbing away the feeling of his touch, his lies, his breath on her skin. Then she dressed in sharp clothes, tailored pants, a blazer, low heels. Armor for what came next. At exactly 9, she rang Lydia's doorbell. Her best friend opened the door, took one look at Evelyn's face, and pulled her inside. What happened? Everything you warned me about, Evelyn said, and worse. They sat in Lydia's living room, and Evelyn told her everything. The conversation she'd overheard, what she'd found on Adrian's phone, the other women, the timeline for stealing everything she owned. Lydia's face went pale, then red with fury. That son of a bitch! We're calling the police right now. No. Evelyn's voice was firm. Not yet. I need to understand what I'm dealing with first. What he's already taken, what can be recovered, what's legal, and what's criminal. Daniel Hayes, Lydia said immediately. Call him now? Evelyn pulled out her phone. Daniel answered on the second ring. Evelyn, congratulations on the wedding. I need to see you today, as soon as possible. It's urgent. Something in her tone made him shift immediately into professional mode. I have a meeting at 10, but I can move it. Come to my office now. 20 minutes later, Evelyn sat across from Daniel Hayes in his corner office overlooking Madison Avenue. He was 60, silver-haired, sharp as a knife. He'd guided her through Richard's estate, through setting up her rental property management, through every major financial decision she'd made in 3 years. Tell me, he said simply. She did. Every detail. When she finished, Daniel's face was grim. Show me the documents, he said. Evelyn pulled up the photos on her phone. Daniel examined them, his expression growing darker with each swipe. This is bad, he finally said. Some of this is legal, barely. You did sign these documents, even if you didn't fully understand what they were. But some of this, he paused on a photo of an email between Adrian and his lawyer. This shows clear intent to defraud. The problem is proving that in court before he's liquidated everything and disappeared. What can we do? Daniel was quiet for a moment, thinking. First, we file an emergency injunction to freeze all asset transfers. I'll need you to sign an affidavit detailing what you overheard and what you found. Second, we need to report this to the police. What he's done may constitute fraud, and given these references to other women, He looked at her seriously. Evelyn, this could be part of a pattern of criminal behavior, maybe worse. The woman in Chicago, Evelyn said quietly. The one his mother mentioned. I saw news articles about a missing woman, and another one died in Phoenix. We need to contact the authorities in those cities too. Daniel was already making notes. But first, we protect you, financially and physically. Physically? You're a threat to him now, even if he doesn't know it yet. Men like this don't give up easily. Daniel looked at her over his reading glasses. Do you have somewhere safe to stay? She's staying with me, Lydia said from the doorway. She'd insisted on coming to the meeting. He doesn't know where I live. Daniel nodded. Good. Evelyn, don't go back to the house. Don't communicate with Adrian except through me. Don't let him know anything has changed. He thinks we have dinner reservations tonight. Cancel them. Text him that you're not feeling well. Keep it simple, normal. We need time to get the injunctions in place before he realizes what's happening. Evelyn pulled out her phone and typed the message. I'm not feeling great. Think I overdid it yesterday. Can we reschedule dinner? So sorry. The response came almost immediately. Of course, darling. Rest. I'll check on you later. She showed it to Daniel. He nodded. Perfect. He thinks you're still under his control. That gives us an advantage. For the next 6 hours, Evelyn sat in Daniel's conference room and told her story again and again. To a judge via video call for the emergency injunction. To a detective in the fraud division who specialized in financial crimes. To an FBI agent who'd been investigating a series of cases involving older women and predatory relationships. The FBI agent, a woman named Martinez, leaned forward when Evelyn mentioned Elena Volkov. The mother. You heard her voice clearly? Yes. She was at the wedding. Short woman, elegant, Russian accent. Can you identify her from a photo? Martinez pulled up several images on her tablet. Evelyn pointed to one immediately. That's her. Martinez exchanged a look with her partner. Elena Volkov has been on our radar for years. She's connected to organized crime in Moscow, suspected of running a financial fraud operation targeting wealthy women. But we've never been able to prove anything. If her son is working with her. He is, Evelyn said. I heard them planning everything. By 4 p.m, the emergency injunction was in place. All of Evelyn's accounts were frozen, which meant Adrian couldn't access them either. The property transfers were being challenged. An investigation was officially opened. This is the easy part, Daniel warned her. The hard part starts when he finds out what you've done. He'll be dangerous then. Let him be dangerous, Evelyn said. She felt eerily calm. The crying, the fear, the shock, all of it had burned away, leaving something harder behind. I'm not afraid of him anymore. That night, Evelyn stayed in Lydia's guest room. She lay awake in the dark, thinking about the woman she'd been 24 hours ago. Hopeful. In love. Pathetically grateful for scraps of affection. That woman was gone. Her phone buzzed, a text from Adrian. Feeling better? I brought soup. He was at the house. Her house. Looking for her. She typed back. With Lydia. She came to check on me and I'm staying here tonight. Girl talk. See you tomorrow? 3 dots. He was typing, stopping, typing again. Of course, feel better. Love you? Love you too. The lie came easier now. Evelyn closed her eyes. Tomorrow, Adrian would try to access the accounts and find them frozen. He'd call his lawyer, his mother, Dmitri. He'd realize something was wrong, and then the real fight would begin. But Evelyn was ready. She had evidence, she had lawyers, she had the FBI, she had Lydia. And most importantly, she had something Adrian Volkov had never counted on. She was done being weak. The call came at 7 the next morning. Evelyn was awake, had been awake for hours, sitting at Lydia's kitchen table with cold coffee and her phone face up on the wooden surface. When it lit up with Adrian's name, she stared at it for 3 rings before answering. Good morning, she said, her voice still rough with sleep she hadn't gotten. What the hell did you do? Adrian's voice was different now. No warmth, no performance, just ice and rage. I don't know what you mean. The accounts are frozen. All of them. My lawyer just called. The property transfers are being challenged. What did you do, Evelyn? She took a slow breath. Lydia appeared in the doorway, watching with wide eyes. I protected myself. Silence on the other end. Then a laugh, sharp and bitter. You think you're protecting yourself? You have no idea what you've just done. I know exactly what I've done. I know what you did too. The deed transfers, the power of attorney, the plan to leave me with nothing. Her voice stayed level. I heard everything, Adrian. You and your mother. I was under the bed. Another pause, longer this time. When he spoke again, his voice had changed, quieter, more dangerous. You were under the bed. The whole time. Well, he exhaled slowly. That's unfortunate. For you, for both of us. You don't understand the situation you're in now. I understand perfectly. You're a con artist. You targeted me, manipulated me, stole from me, and now you're caught. Adrian laughed again, genuine amusement this time. Caught? Evelyn, sweetheart, you really don't know how this works. Everything I did was legal. You signed those documents. You gave me access to your accounts. You married me willingly. Under false pretenses. Prove it. Prove I didn't love you. Prove I had malicious intent. His voice was smooth now, confident. You can't. You have no evidence of anything except what you claim you overheard in the dark while hiding under furniture. Any lawyer will tear that apart. I have more than that. Do you? He paused. What do you have, Evelyn? She shouldn't tell him. Daniel had been clear about that, but rage and exhaustion made her reckless. I have your phone records, your emails, your text messages with your mother and your lawyer, pictures of the other women, everything. The silence stretched out so long she thought he'd hung up. Then, how? Your phone while you slept. That's illegal. Anything you took from my phone without permission is inadmissible in court. Your lawyer should have told you that. The police don't seem to think so. Neither does the FBI. She heard his sharp intake of breath. You called the FBI. They're very interested in your mother, in the pattern of women across multiple states, in Chicago especially. You stupid bitch. The words came out soft, almost gentle. You have no idea what you've done. You've ruined everything. Years of work, careful planning. Good. No, not good. You think the law will protect you? You think freezing some accounts will stop this? His voice dropped lower. I know where you are, Evelyn. I know where your children are. Michael in Seattle with his wife and daughter. Jennifer in Boston with her husband and twin boys. Fear spiked through her chest. Don't you dare. I'm not threatening them. I'm just reminding you that the world is a dangerous place. Accidents happen. People get hurt. And you've just made a lot of powerful people very, very angry. The FBI is recording this call. No, they're not. You're at your friend Lydia's apartment, the one on West 78th Street, third floor, corner unit. You're drinking coffee at her kitchen table. Should I describe what you're wearing? Evelyn's blood went cold. She moved to the window, looked down at the street. A black sedan sat parked across from the building, windows tinted. I see you see us, Adrian said. Good. Now listen carefully. You're going to call your lawyer and tell him this was all a mistake. A misunderstanding, wedding stress. You're going to unfreeze the accounts and drop the challenges to the property transfers. I'm not doing any of that. Then your children will suffer, not today, not tomorrow. But eventually, a car accident, a home invasion. These things happen in big cities. Lydia was on her phone now, dialing someone. Police, probably. Evelyn forced herself to breathe. You're threatening to kill my children if I don't let you steal from me. I'm not threatening anything. I'm explaining reality. You made choices. Choices have consequences. So do yours. The FBI knows everything now. You think threatening me helps your situation? The FBI has nothing. Some photos of documents you stole illegally, an accusation from a bitter wife. They'll investigate for months, find nothing actionable, and close the case. His voice was maddeningly calm. I've done this before, Evelyn. Multiple times. I know exactly how much evidence they need to actually charge me, and you don't have it. The women in Chicago and Phoenix, tragic accidents, investigated and closed. No evidence of foul play in either case. He paused. But you're right that they complicate things. Which is why I'm giving you a choice. Drop this now, sign over what's left, and walk away. You keep your life. Your children keep theirs. Everyone goes home. I'm not signing anything else. Then we do this the hard way. And the hard way gets messy. People get hurt. You sure you want that? Evelyn looked at Lydia, who was talking urgently into her phone. Through the window, she could see the black sedan still parked below. I need time to think. You have until tonight, 6 o'clock. Call Daniel Hayes and tell him to unfreeze everything, or I make a phone call of my own. He hung up. Evelyn set the phone down with shaking hands. Lydia finished her call and grabbed Evelyn's shoulders. The police are on their way, and I called Agent Martinez. She's coming too. He's watching us. Right now. There's a car outside. They both moved away from the window. Minutes later, police cars arrived, surrounding the black sedan. But when officers approached it, they found it empty. Keys in the ignition. Rental agreement in the glove box under a false name. Martinez arrived 20 minutes later with 2 other agents. They swept Lydia's apartment for listening devices, found none, then set up in the living room with laptops and recording equipment. "Play me the call," Martinez said. Evelyn handed over her phone. They'd recorded it automatically through an app Daniel had installed yesterday. Martinez listened, her face impassive. When it finished, she looked up. He just confessed to multiple felonies. Extortion, witness intimidation, threatening violence across state lines. He said you couldn't use what I took from his phone. He's wrong. Under the spousal access doctrine and the exigent circumstances exception, what you gathered has evidentiary value, especially now that he's made threats. Martinez made notes. But he's right about one thing. Proving fraud is hard. Proving conspiracy is harder. He's done this before, and he's good at it. So what do I do? You do nothing. You stay here with police protection. We work the case. Martinez looked at her seriously. But I need to be honest with you, Evelyn. Men like Adrian Volkov don't make empty threats. If he says your children are at risk, you need to take that seriously. I should warn them. We're already on it. I have agents contacting Seattle and Boston PD right now. Your children will have protection. Evelyn closed her eyes. This was her fault. Her stupidity, her desperation, her willingness to believe a handsome man's lies. And now Michael and Jennifer were in danger. I need to call them, she said. They deserve to know what's happening. Martinez nodded. Make it quick. Don't give details over the phone. The call to Michael was brutal. He didn't believe her at first, thought she was confused or having some kind of breakdown. When she finally convinced him this was real, his voice went hollow. Mom, what did you do? I fell in love with the wrong person. You married a criminal, a con artist, and now my daughter is in danger because you couldn't see what was right in front of you? Each word was a knife. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't help if something happens to Emma. She's 6 years old, Mom. 6! He was crying now. How could you be so stupid? I don't know. Seattle PD is outside my house right now. 2 officers. They say they're here for protection, but it feels like we're prisoners because of you. Michael, I have to go. I need to talk to Sarah, figure out if we should leave the city. He paused. Don't call again unless it's an emergency. I can't deal with this right now. The line went dead. Jennifer's call was worse. She listened in silence as Evelyn explained, and when she finally spoke, her voice was flat. I told you not to marry him. I told you it was too fast. You said I deserved happiness. I was trying to be supportive, but I knew something was wrong. I could tell from his voice on the phone, from the way you talked about him. Jennifer's voice cracked. And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to hurt you. I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe you really had found someone. I'm sorry. The boys have soccer practice today, a game tomorrow. Now I have to tell them they can't go because some criminal might hurt them to punish their grandmother. She was crying too now. How am I supposed to explain this to 7-year-olds? Tell them I love them. That's not enough, Mom. Love doesn't fix this. Jennifer took a shaky breath. I need to go. The police want to talk to me. Both her children gone. Both of them hating her. Both of them right to hate her. Evelyn sat on Lydia's couch and stared at nothing. Lydia brought her water, tea, food she couldn't eat. The police officers stationed outside the apartment changed shifts. Martinez and her team worked their laptops, making calls, coordinating with other agencies. At 3 in the afternoon, Daniel Hayes arrived with a briefcase full of documents. He spread them across Lydia's dining table, showing Evelyn the extent of what Adrian had already taken. The house is gone. He transferred the deed legally. You signed the paperwork. Can't we prove I didn't understand what I was signing? We can try. But you had independent legal counsel present when you signed the prenup. He'll argue that you had every opportunity to read the other documents carefully. I trusted him. I know. But trust is an illegal defense. Daniel pulled out more papers. The rental properties are more complicated. They're in an LLC that he controls, but you're still listed as a member. We can fight that. The investment accounts are frozen right now, but if the judge rules against us, he gets access to half of them as your spouse. What about the will? Also problematic. You signed it voluntarily. The fact that you didn't understand you were leaving everything to him if you died doesn't change the validity of the document. Evelyn felt sick. So he wins. He gets everything. Not everything, and not without a fight. Daniel's voice was firm. But I need you to understand what we're up against. Adrian has excellent lawyers. He has resources. He has experience doing this. Our best chance is the criminal case. If the FBI can prove fraud, conspiracy, or connect him to the suspicious deaths of those other women, then everything changes. And if they can't? Daniel was quiet. Martinez looked up from her laptop. We're building a case. But it takes time. And time is something Adrian isn't giving us. He wants an answer by 6 o'clock. He's not getting one. We don't negotiate with extortionists. Easy for you to say. Your children aren't in danger. Martinez's expression softened. I have a daughter. She's 12. I understand what you're feeling, but giving in to his demands won't keep your children safe. It'll just prove that threatening them works. So what do I do? You wait. You trust us to do our jobs, and you stay calm. Staying calm was impossible. Evelyn paced Lydia's apartment, watching the clock. 4 o'clock. 5:30. At 5:45, her phone rang. Not Adrian. An unknown number. Don't answer it, Martinez said immediately, but Evelyn was already swiping to accept. Hello? Mrs. Volkov, a woman's voice, accented. Elena, we should talk. I have nothing to say to you. I think you do. I think you're frightened right now, worried about your children, wondering if you made the right choice. I made the only choice. Did you? Because from where I'm sitting, you've accomplished nothing except putting your family in danger. Elena's voice was almost kind. My son is angry. When Adrian gets angry, he makes bad decisions. Is that a threat? It's a warning, from one mother to another. Elena paused. I don't want to see your children hurt. I don't want to see you hurt. But Adrian is beyond my control now. You humiliated him, exposed him. He won't forgive that. Good. I don't want his forgiveness. What do you want, Evelyn? Really? The question caught her off guard. What did she want? Justice? Revenge? Her money back? Her children safe? I want him to pay for what he did. He will. Eventually. Men like Adrian always do. Elena's voice was sad. But how many people get hurt in the meantime? That's what you should be asking yourself. Why are you calling me? Because I taught my son to be ruthless, efficient, smart, and now I'm watching him become reckless instead. That's dangerous for everyone. You helped him plan this. You were there. I heard you. I know, and I regret it. Elena sighed. I've watched Adrian destroy many women. I told myself they were weak, greedy, that they deserved what happened. But you're different. You actually loved him, or thought you did. Is there a point to this? The point is that I'm giving you information my son doesn't know I have. Adrian is planning to leave the country. Tomorrow night. There's a flight to Moscow at 11. He has passports under 3 different names. Money waiting in accounts offshore. Evelyn's heart pounded. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm tired. Tired of running. Tired of watching my son become a monster. Elena's voice broke slightly. And because you remind me of someone. My sister. She married a man like Adrian once. It didn't end well for her. What happened to her? She disappeared. 20 years ago. They never found her body. Elena was quiet for a moment. My son learned everything from his father. I taught him to be smart about it, but I never wanted this. I never wanted him to be this. Then help me stop him. I'm trying. If Adrian gets on that plane tomorrow, you'll never see him again. Never recover what he took. Never get justice. The FBI won't let him leave. The FBI doesn't know about the fake passports, the midnight flight, the driver waiting to take him to a private terminal. Elena rattled off details. Flight numbers, passport names, bank account information. I'm sending you all of this in an email. Give it to Agent Martinez. Let her do her job. Why would you betray your own son? Because he's already gone. The boy I raised is dead. This man who threatens children, I don't know him. Elena's voice hardened. And because I won't let him destroy another woman the way his father destroyed my sister. The line went dead. Evelyn stared at her phone. Martinez was already beside her. What did she say? Everything. Evelyn's hands shook as she checked her email. There it was. A message from an encrypted account with attachments. Flight manifests, passport images, bank routing numbers, photos of documents. Martinez scanned through them on Evelyn's phone, her eyes widening. This is it. This is everything we need. She was already on her phone calling her team. We can get warrants, stop him at the airport, seize the passports and the money. She said he's leaving tomorrow night, 11 o'clock flight. Then we move tomorrow, set up at the airport, arrest him when he tries to board. Martinez was energized now, focused. This changes everything. Daniel was reading over her shoulder. With this evidence, we can prove intent to flee. That strengthens the fraud case significantly. Why would his mother give us this? Lydia asked. What does she get out of it? Evelyn thought about Elena's voice, the sadness in it, the regret. Redemption, maybe, or revenge. I don't know. Could be a trap, Martinez warned. She could be feeding us false information to distract us from whatever Adrian's really planning. Or she's telling the truth and we finally have a real chance to stop him. Evelyn stood up. Either way, we have to follow up on this. Martinez nodded. Agreed. But carefully. We verify everything she gave us before we act. For the next 4 hours, Martinez's team worked. They confirmed the flight existed, verified the passport numbers corresponded to documents issued under false names, tracked the bank accounts to offshore locations. Every detail Elena had provided checked out. At 11 that night, Martinez looked up from her laptop. It's real, all of it. We're moving forward with the airport arrest. What about tonight? He said 6 o'clock. He wanted an answer. Let him wait. Let him wonder what you're doing. The more uncertain he is, the more likely he makes mistakes. Evelyn's phone stayed silent. No call from Adrian. No threats. Nothing. That worried her more than the threats had. At midnight, Martinez sent Evelyn to bed in Lydia's guest room with 2 agents stationed outside the apartment and 1 in the hallway. Evelyn lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow they'd arrest Adrian, seize his fake passports, stop him from fleeing. And then what? A trial that could take years? Her money gone either way? Her children still hating her? She must have dozed off eventually because she woke to pounding on the door. Lydia's voice, panicked. Evelyn, get up. She stumbled out of bed. 3 in the morning. Martinez was in the living room with her laptop, her face pale. What happened? The house. Your house in Brooklyn Heights. Martinez turned the laptop around. News footage, flames, fire trucks. It's burning. Evelyn stared at the screen. Her home. Richard's home. Where she'd raised her children, where she'd built a life. The roof was collapsing as she watched, flames shooting through the windows. Was anyone inside? She whispered. No, the fire department got there fast. They're saying it's suspicious. Multiple points of origin. Accelerant detected. He burned it down. We don't know that yet. He burned down my house because I didn't call by 6. Evelyn felt numb. He said there would be consequences. Her phone rang. Adrian. She answered on speaker, Martinez recording. Did you see? Adrian asked conversationally. Beautiful old house. Shame about the electrical fire. Those old buildings, wiring gets faulty. You're a monster. I'm a man of my word. I said consequences. I meant it. He paused. Your children are still safe. For now. But TikTok, Evelyn, the clock is running. The FBI knows everything. Your mother told us. The fake passports, the flight to Moscow, the offshore accounts. Silence. Then, my mother. She's done helping you. Is she? Adrian's voice had gone very quiet, very cold. Well, that complicates things. You can't run now. They'll arrest you at the airport. You think I only have one exit plan? You think I'm that stupid? He laughed. I have 6 different ways to leave this country. 6 different identities, 6 different flights. Your FBI friends can't watch them all. They can try. Let them. By this time tomorrow, I'll be gone and you'll be broke. Your house is gone. Your accounts will be unfrozen and emptied within days. Your children will spend the rest of their lives looking over their shoulders. His voice was poison. You could have avoided all of this. You chose not to. I chose not to let you win. And look what it cost you. Was it worth it, Evelyn? Was your pride worth losing everything? She thought about her children's voices. Michael's anger, Jennifer's tears, the house burning on the news footage, everything she'd lost already, everything she stood to lose still. Yes, she said. It was worth it. Adrian hung up. Martinez was already on the phone, coordinating with airport security, customs, the other agencies tracking Adrian's known aliases. But Evelyn could see the worry in her face. Adrian was right. They couldn't watch every possible exit point. He had resources, connections, experience. He might actually get away. Dawn came slowly. Evelyn sat on Lydia's couch watching news coverage of her house burning. The fire department had put it out eventually, but the damage was catastrophic. Total loss, they were saying. Arson investigators on site. Her phone rang constantly. Her insurance company, the fire department, neighbors. She ignored all of it. At 8 in the morning, Martinez got a call. She listened, her face going tight, then hung up. He's not at his apartment. We sent officers to pick him up early and he's gone. Packed bags missing, car gone. He's running. Looks like it. We've issued a bolo. Every airport, train station, bus terminal in the tri-state area is watching for him. But Evelyn knew it wouldn't be enough. Adrian was smart, careful. He'd planned for this. At 9, Daniel arrived with more bad news. The judge denied the emergency injunction extension. The accounts unfreeze at noon. He'll empty them the moment they open. We have another injunction ready to file, but it takes time to process. There'll be a window where he has access. How long a window? Maybe an hour, maybe less if we're lucky. An hour was enough. Adrian could transfer millions in an hour. Evelyn felt everything slipping away. Her house, her money, her safety, her children's safety. All of it burning down around her while Adrian disappeared into the wind. At 10, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Evelyn, Elena's voice. I don't have much time. Adrian knows I helped you. He's coming for me. Where are you? Doesn't matter, I'm leaving too. But I need to tell you something first. Elena's voice was urgent. The accounts. When they unfreeze, he won't empty them himself. Too risky. He has someone else set up to do it. A man named Dmitry Petrov. He works at the investment firm handling your portfolio. Dmitry. Evelyn remembered the name from Adrian's text messages. He'll execute the transfers at exactly noon. Everything will go to offshore accounts Adrian controls, but there's a problem with his plan. What problem? Dmitry is greedy. He's skimming. 20% of every transfer goes to his own account, not Adrian's. Adrian doesn't know yet. Elena rattled off account numbers, passwords, transfer codes. If you can stop Dmitry before noon, you can stop the transfers. Keep your money. How do I stop him? That's your problem. But you're smart. You'll figure it out. Elena paused. I'm sorry. For everything. For teaching my son to be what he is. For helping him hurt you. Why are you doing this? Really? Because my sister's name was Evelyn too. And she died alone and afraid because I didn't protect her. Elena's voice broke. I can't save her. But maybe I can save you. The line went dead. Evelyn looked at Martinez. You get all that? Every word. If we can verify this Dmitry Petrov works at the investment firm? He does. Daniel was already on his phone. I have contacts there. Give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, he confirmed it. Dmitry Petrov, senior portfolio manager, had access to Evelyn's accounts, and he was scheduled to work today. We need to get to him before noon, Martinez said. Arrest him. Stop the transfers. On what charge? He hasn't done anything yet. Conspiracy to commit fraud, wire fraud. We have enough from the recordings and Elena's information to bring him in for questioning. They moved fast. By 11, Martinez had a team in place at the investment firm's Manhattan office. At 11:30, they arrested Dmitry Petrov as he sat at his computer, finger hovering over the transfer button. The look on his face, Martinez told Evelyn later, was priceless. By noon, Evelyn's accounts were frozen again, legally this time, as evidence in a criminal investigation. Not a single dollar had been transferred. Adrian's plan had failed, but the man himself was still gone. Dmitry Petrov talked within an hour of his arrest. Martinez called Evelyn with the news at 1:30, her voice crackling with barely contained excitement over the phone. "He's giving us everything. Bank accounts, transfer schedules, communication records with Adrian going back 3 years. He's terrified of going to prison and he's rolling on everyone to save himself." Evelyn gripped the phone tighter. "Does he know where Adrian is?" "No. But he knows who might. There's a network. People who help men like Adrian disappear. Dimitri's giving us names." "How long until you find him?" Martinez hesitated. "That's harder to say. These networks are designed to be invisible, but we're working it. Working it." The words felt hollow. Adrian was out there somewhere, free, probably laughing at all of them while he planned his next move. Evelyn thanked Martinez and hung up, then walked to Lydia's window and stared down at the street below. 2 police cars were parked outside now. Protection, they called it. Prison was what it felt like. Lydia appeared beside her with fresh coffee. "You should eat something." "I'm not hungry." "You haven't eaten in 2 days. You're going to make yourself sick." "My house burned down. My children hate me. My husband is a criminal who's probably halfway to Moscow by now. I think I'm allowed to skip a few meals." Lydia set the coffee down and pulled Evelyn into a hug. For a moment, Evelyn just stood there, stiff and resistant. Then something broke inside her and she collapsed into her friend's arms, sobbing like she hadn't let herself sob since this whole nightmare began. "I was so stupid," she gasped between tears. "So pathetically stupid." "You fell in love. That's not stupid." "I fell for a con. I signed away everything because a handsome man paid attention to me. That's the definition of stupid." Lydia pulled back, gripping Evelyn's shoulders. "Listen to me. Adrian is a professional criminal. This is what he does. He studies people, finds their vulnerabilities, exploits them. You're not the first woman he fooled, and you wouldn't have been the last if you hadn't stopped him." "I didn't stop him. He's gone." "You stopped the money transfers. You got the FBI involved. You exposed his entire operation." Lydia's voice was fierce. "That man thought he could use you and throw you away. Instead, you fought back. You're still fighting. That's not stupid, Evelyn. That's brave." The words should have helped. They didn't. Evelyn pulled away and picked up the coffee with shaking hands. "Michael won't return my calls. Jennifer sent me a one-line text saying they're staying with friends until this is over. My kids are in hiding because of me." "Your kids are safe. That's what matters." "Is it? Because right now they're terrified and angry, and they have every right to be." Evelyn's voice cracked. "I brought a monster into our lives. I put them in danger. I burned down the house where they grew up. Adrian burned down the house because of choices I made." They stood in silence. Outside, one of the police officers got out of his car and walked the perimeter of the building. Standard patrol. Everything was standard now. Standard protection, standard procedures, standard reassurances that meant nothing. Evelyn's phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. "Need you at my office, 2 o'clock. Important." She showed it to Lydia, who checked her watch. "That's in 20 minutes. I'll drive you." "The police will follow us. Come on." 20 minutes later, Evelyn sat in Daniel's conference room with Martinez, 2 other FBI agents, and a woman she didn't recognize. The woman was young, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and a prosecutor's posture. "This is Assistant District Attorney Rebecca Chen," Daniel said. "She's handling the criminal case against Adrian." Chen nodded at Evelyn. "Mrs. Volkov, I've been reviewing the evidence your attorney and Agent Martinez have compiled. It's substantial, but not enough to find him." "We'll find him. What I need to discuss with you today is what happens when we do." Chen pulled out a folder thick with documents. "Adrian Volkov has committed multiple felonies: wire fraud, extortion, witness intimidation, conspiracy to commit fraud, arson. When we arrest him, we'll be seeking the maximum sentence on all counts." "Good. The challenge is that your case, while strong, isn't the only one we're building. Agent Martinez has been in contact with authorities in Chicago, Phoenix, and Atlanta. The women Adrian targeted in those cities, we believe some of them may have been murdered." The word hung in the air like smoke. Murdered. Evelyn had known it was possible, had seen the news articles, but hearing it stated so baldly made it real in a way it hadn't been before. You think he killed them? We think it's possible, Martinez said carefully. The woman in Chicago disappeared after signing over all her assets to Adrian. She was never found. The woman in Phoenix died in what was ruled an accidental fall, but the circumstances were suspicious, same pattern as your case. Whirlwind romance, marriage, legal documents, then tragedy. How many women total? That we know of? 7 over the past 12 years, including you. 7. The number made Evelyn sick. And Elena knew. She helped him with all of them. Elena is currently a person of interest, but she's also cooperating. The information she provided about the fake passports and Dimitri has been invaluable. Martinez leaned forward. She's agreed to testify against Adrian in exchange for immunity. She should go to prison too. Maybe, but without her testimony, we might not be able to prove the pattern. Adrian is careful. He compartmentalizes. Elena is the only person who knows the full scope of his operation. Chen cleared her throat. Which brings me to why you're here. Elena wants to meet with you, in person, today. Evelyn stared at her. Absolutely not. She says she has information about Adrian's location. Information she'll only share with you. That's insane. She's his mother. This could be a trap. We considered that, Martinez said. But Elena is currently in federal custody. She turned herself in this morning at our field office. She's facing charges of conspiracy and accessory to fraud. She knows her situation is precarious. I think she's legitimately trying to help. Why would she help me and not you? Because you remind her of her sister. Because she's a mother who realizes her son is a monster. Because she's looking for redemption. Martinez shrugged. People have complicated reasons for the things they do. I don't want to see her. Daniel touched Evelyn's arm. You should consider it. If she really knows where Adrian is, this could end today. You could get closure. Move on with your life. Move on. As if it were that simple. As if she could just flip a switch and stop being the woman who'd married a criminal, who'd endangered her children, who'd lost everything. But Daniel was right about one thing. If Elena knew where Adrian was, Evelyn needed to hear it. Fine, she said. I'll meet her, but not alone. We'll be there the whole time, Martinez assured her. Federal building, interview room, fully monitored and recorded. An hour later, Evelyn sat across a metal table from Elena Volkov. The older woman looked smaller than she had at the wedding. Diminished. She wore an orange jumpsuit and her hands were cuffed in front of her. No makeup, no jewelry, just an elderly woman who'd helped her son destroy lives. Martinez sat beside Evelyn. 2 other agents stood by the door. A camera in the corner recorded everything. Thank you for coming, Elena said. Her accent seemed thicker now, or maybe Evelyn was just paying more attention. I wasn't sure you would. I'm here for information, not conversation. I understand. Elena folded her cuffed hands on the table. I told Agent Martinez I know where Adrian is. That's true. But first, I need to explain something. I need you to understand why I did what I did. I don't care why you did it. Please, just listen. Elena's eyes were desperate. I had a sister, Evelyn, like you. She was beautiful, kind, trusting. When she was 45, she met a man, charming man, rich, attentive. She fell in love fast. Evelyn didn't want to hear this. Didn't want to feel sympathy for this woman, but she stayed silent. They married within months. He took everything from her, her money, her home, her dignity. When she tried to fight back, he killed her. Elena's voice broke. Made it look like suicide. The police believed it. Everyone believed it except me. And you blamed her. No. I blamed myself for not warning her, for not seeing what he was, for being too late. Elena looked down at her hands. When she died, I swore I would never let another woman suffer that way, that I would teach my son to be strong, to be smart, to never be a victim. You taught him to be a predator instead. Yes. The word was barely a whisper. I taught him that women were weak, that trust was foolish, that love was a weapon to be used. I taught him everything his father knew, and I made him better at it, more careful, more successful. You should be proud, Evelyn said bitterly. I'm not. I'm horrified. Elena looked up, tears streaming down her face. I created a monster to protect him from becoming a victim, and now I can't stop what he's become. Where is he? Elena wiped her eyes with her cuffed hands. He's in Connecticut, a property I own under a shell company. Small house in Fairfield County, near the water. He thinks no one knows about it. Martinez was already typing on her phone, sending the information to her team. Address? Elena rattled off a street name and number. He's been there since yesterday, waiting for the heat to die down before he makes his move. What move? There's a boat, private charter, leaves from a marina in Stamford tomorrow morning at dawn, takes him to international waters where another boat will be waiting. From there, he can go anywhere. We can stop the boat, Martinez said. You can try, but Adrian has backup plans for his backup plans. If the boat doesn't work, there's a small plane at a private airstrip in New Jersey. If that doesn't work, he has contacts who can get him across the Canadian border. Elena looked at Evelyn. You can chase him through all of these options, or you can end it now. How? Go to the house in Connecticut. Confront him. Bring him in yourself. Martinez shook her head immediately. That's not happening. This is an FBI matter now. We'll handle the arrest. If the FBI shows up, he'll run. He has escape routes from that house you don't know about. But if Evelyn shows up, Elena leaned forward. He won't expect it. He thinks she's broken, hiding, terrified. If she walks through that door, he'll be so surprised, so angry, he'll make mistakes. You want me to be bait. I want you to be strong, to face him, to show him he didn't break you. Elena's voice intensified. The FBI can be there, surrounding the house, ready to move in, but you go in first. You get him talking. You get him to confess on tape. He's already confessed on tape, multiple times, to you, in anger, but not to police, not in a way that will hold up in court without question. Elena looked at Martinez. You know I'm right. You know his lawyers will challenge every recording, claim coercion, claim entrapment. But if Evelyn wears a wire and gets him to admit what he did, voluntarily, thinking they're alone. Martinez was quiet, thinking. Finally she said, It's risky. Everything is risky, but this is the best chance you have to end this quickly, before more people get hurt, before Adrian disappears for good. Evelyn's mind raced. The thought of seeing Adrian again made her physically ill, but the thought of him escaping, starting over somewhere new, finding another victim, another Evelyn to manipulate and destroy, was worse. I'll do it, she said. Evelyn, we need to discuss this. Martinez started. I'll do it, Evelyn repeated, stronger this time. But I want protection. I want agents surrounding that house. And I want a panic button in case things go wrong. They will go wrong, Elena said quietly. Adrian will be furious when he sees you. He might get violent. Then the agents will come in. But I need to face him. I need to look him in the eye and show him he didn't win. Martinez stood up. I need to make some calls, set this up properly. It'll take a few hours. We don't have a few hours. He's leaving tomorrow at dawn. Then we go tonight. Martinez looked at Evelyn seriously. You're sure about this? Evelyn thought about Michael's anger, Jennifer's tears, her house burning, her wedding night under the bed. She thought about the 6 other women Adrian had used and destroyed. She thought about Elena's sister, dead because no one had stopped the man who killed her. I'm sure. They spent the next 4 hours preparing. Evelyn was fitted with a wire, so small and sophisticated she could barely feel it against her skin. Martinez's team reviewed the layout of the Connecticut house, planned approach routes, positioned agents. Chen coached Evelyn on what to say, what questions to ask, how to get Adrian talking. You want him to feel superior, Chen explained, like he won. Men like him love to brag. Let him. I don't know if I can do that without strangling him. You can, because you're angry, and anger is powerful. Channel it. Use it. At 6 o'clock, they drove to Connecticut in a convoy of unmarked cars. Evelyn rode with Martinez and Chen. Lydia had wanted to come, but Martinez refused. Too dangerous. Too many civilians. Evelyn watched the highway lights blur past her window. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. Mom, the police say it might be over soon, and is that true? Evelyn typed back carefully. I hope so. I love you. Tell the boys I love them too. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, be careful. 2 words, but they felt like forgiveness, or at least the beginning of it. The house in Fairfield County was exactly what Elena had described. Small, isolated, set back from the road with trees blocking the view from neighbors. Lights were on in the downstairs windows. A Mercedes was parked in the driveway. Adrian's car. Martinez positioned agents around the perimeter. Snipers on rooftops across the street. A tactical team ready to breach if things went wrong. They handed Evelyn a small device that looked like a key fob. Panic button, Martinez explained. Press it and we come in immediately. Don't try to be a hero. If he threatens you, if he touches you, if anything feels wrong, you press that button. Evelyn slipped it into her jacket pocket. Her hand was shaking. You don't have to do this, Martinez said. We can go in now, arrest him without you. And risk him running? Having this drag out for months? Evelyn shook her head. No, I need to end this tonight. She got out of the car before she could change her mind. The walk up the driveway felt endless. Her heart hammered so hard she was sure Adrian would hear it from inside. She reached the front door, raised her hand to knock, hesitated. From inside she heard music playing, classical, something Russian, Adrian's taste. She knocked. The music stopped. Footsteps approached. The door opened. Adrian stood there in jeans and a sweater looking like he was on vacation. His face went through a series of expressions, surprise, confusion, then something darker, dangerous. Evelyn, what an unexpected pleasure. We need to talk. He looked past her, scanning the street. Are you alone? Yes. I don't believe you. I don't care what you believe. Let me in or I leave. He studied her face, looking for the trap. Finally, he stepped aside. By all means, come into my humble hiding place. The house was sparsely furnished, generic rental furniture. No personal touches. A laptop sat open on the coffee table showing flight schedules. A suitcase waited by the stairs, half-packed. Running away? Evelyn asked. Taking a vacation. There's a difference. Adrian closed the door behind her. How did you find me? Your mother told me. His expression hardened. Of course she did. Sentimental old fool. I should have known she'd crack. She's trying to save you. She's trying to save herself. Elena always looks out for Elena first. He moved to the kitchen, poured himself a drink. Want one? You look like you could use it. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're here, in the house of the man who destroyed your life. That's either very brave or very stupid. He took a sip of his drink, watching her over the rim of the glass. Which is it, Evelyn? Maybe both. That made him smile. I always liked your honesty, one of your few redeeming qualities. The insult should have stung. Instead, it just made her angry. Good. Chen had said to use the anger. Why did you do it? She asked. You're smart, educated. You could have been anything. Why this? Because this is easy. Because rich, lonely women are everywhere and they're desperate for someone to notice them. Because taking their money is simpler than earning my own. He set down his drink. And because it's fun. The challenge of it. The game. It's not a game. You ruined lives. I took money from people who had more than they needed. Boo-hoo. Adrian's voice was mocking. You were never going to spend all that money, Evelyn. Your kids were set. You lived comfortably. What did you need millions in investments for? To die wealthy? To leave it to charity? It was mine. And now it's frozen in evidence accounts while lawyers fight over it. So really, nobody wins. Congratulations. He moved closer to her. Is that why you're here? To ask me why? To get closure? I'm here because your mother said you might negotiate, that you might return what you took if I dropped the charges. Adrian laughed, genuine and loud. Oh, that's good. That's very good. My mother thinks I'll negotiate. He circled around her like a predator. Let me explain something to you, Evelyn. I don't negotiate. I don't compromise. I take what I want and I leave. That's the arrangement. That's always been the arrangement. What about the other women? Chicago, Phoenix, Atlanta. What about them? Did you kill them? He stopped circling, looked at her with cold, dead eyes. Would it matter if I said yes? It would matter to their families, to the police. The police can't prove anything. They've looked, they've investigated, and they've found exactly what I wanted them to find. Accidents, disappearances. Nothing connecting back to me. Elena knows. Elena knows what I've told her, which isn't everything. Adrian smiled. My mother likes to think she's in control. that she taught me everything, but I've learned things she never knew, developed techniques she can't imagine. Like burning down my house? That was a message, a demonstration of what happens when you don't listen. He stepped closer. But you're here now, so maybe you're finally ready to listen. I'm listening. Good. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call your FBI friends and tell them this was a misunderstanding, a mistake. You're going to drop all charges, unfreeze the accounts, sign over whatever's left of your assets, and then you're going to disappear. Move somewhere quiet, change your name, forget this ever happened. And if I don't, then I hurt the people you love, starting with your children. His voice was casual, like he was discussing the weather. Michael's daughter, Emma. She walks to school every day, doesn't she? Same route, same time, very predictable. Evelyn's hand moved to her pocket. The panic button was right there. Jennifer's boys play soccer on Saturdays, public park. Lots of people around, but nobody's really watching. Accidents happen at playgrounds. Kids fall, get hurt. Adrian leaned in close. Or maybe I skip the kids and go straight for Michael and Jennifer themselves. Car accidents are so common. Brake lines fail. People die. You're threatening to murder my children. I'm explaining consequences. You made a choice. Actions have reactions. He pulled out his phone. I have people watching them right now. One phone call and... Evelyn pressed the panic button. For a moment, nothing happened. Adrian kept talking, kept threatening, kept smiling his horrible smile. Then the door crashed in. Agents poured through the entrance. Windows shattered as the tactical team came through from the back. Adrian spun around, reaching for something under his jacket, but he never got there. 3 agents tackled him to the ground, weapons drawn, shouting commands. FBI, don't move! Hands where we can see them! Adrian fought for a moment, then went still. They pulled his hands behind his back, cuffed him, hauled him to his feet. He looked at Evelyn with pure hatred. You lying bitch! I learned from the best, she said. Martinez was beside her, checking if she was okay. Evelyn nodded, unable to speak. Her whole body was shaking. They dragged Adrian outside to a waiting car. Chen appeared with a tablet showing Evelyn the recording. We got everything, the threats, the admission about the other women, all of it. Is it enough? It's more than enough. He's going to prison for the rest of his life. Evelyn watched through the window as they put Adrian in the car. He was still fighting, still cursing, still trying to negotiate his way out, but it was over, really over. Martinez touched her arm. You did good. That took real courage. I was terrified. That's what courage is. Being terrified and doing it anyway. Martinez smiled. Come on, let's get you home. But home was gone, burned, and Evelyn had no idea where home even was anymore. They drove back to the city in silence. Evelyn sat in the back of Martinez's car, watching Connecticut blur past the windows. Her hands had finally stopped shaking, but she felt hollowed out, like someone had scooped everything from inside her and left only skin. You want to stop for food? Martinez asked from the front seat. Coffee? I want to see Elena. Martinez glanced at her in the rear-view mirror. Tonight? Tonight, while it's fresh, while I still have the nerve. She's in federal custody. We'd need to arrange, then arrange it. 20 minutes later, they pulled up to the federal building in Lower Manhattan. Martinez made calls, pulled strings, and by 9 o'clock, Evelyn was back in an interview room facing Elena Volkov across a metal table. Elena looked worse than she had earlier. Older somehow. Defeated. When she saw Evelyn, something like relief crossed her face. You got him. Your son is in custody. He'll be arraigned tomorrow morning. Evelyn's voice was flat. You were right. He confessed to everything. Not everything. Adrian never confesses to everything. Elena folded her hands on the table. But enough. Enough to put him away. He threatened my grandchildren. Described exactly how he'd hurt them. Evelyn leaned forward. Did you know he was planning that? When you sent me to that house, did you know he'd threaten children? I knew he would be angry. I knew he would lash out, but I didn't know... Elena's voice cracked. I didn't know he'd become that. A man who threatens babies. He's your son. You made him that. Yes. The word was simple. Final. Elena didn't try to defend herself. I made him exactly what he is. Every lesson I taught him, every value I instilled, every piece of advice I gave, it all led to this. To him sitting in a cell right now, planning his next move. There is no next move. He's done. You think prison will stop Adrian? You think bars and guards will change him? Elena shook her head. He's already talking to lawyers, already planning appeals, already figuring out how to manipulate the system. That's what he does. That's all he knows. Evelyn felt exhausted suddenly, bone-deep tired. Why am I here, Elena? What do you want from me? Forgiveness. You won't get it. I know, but I had to ask anyway. Elena looked down at her cuffed hands. My sister, the other Evelyn, she came to me before she married that man. She asked me what I thought of him, and I told her he seemed fine, nice, successful. I didn't see the warning signs because I didn't want to. I was busy with my own life, my own problems, and she died because I wasn't paying attention. That's not the same as what you did to me, isn't it? I saw Adrian destroy woman after woman, and I did nothing. I helped him. I taught him to be better at it. I told myself they deserved it, that they were weak, that this was just how the world worked. Elena's eyes filled with tears. But you weren't weak. You were kind, trusting, human, and I helped my son nearly destroy you for that. You also helped me stop him. Too late. Far too late. Your house is gone. Your money is frozen. Your children are traumatized. Your life is in pieces. Elena wiped her eyes with her cuffed hands. Giving you some information doesn't undo that. Doesn't fix what I broke. They sat in silence. Through the one-way mirror, Evelyn knew Martinez was watching, recording every word. This conversation would become evidence, testimony, part of the case against both Elena and Adrian. What happens to you now? Evelyn asked finally. I plead guilty, testify against Adrian, serve whatever sentence they give me. Elena shrugged. I'm 73 years old, prison is prison. At least I'll have time to think about what I've done. Will you really testify against him? Every word, every detail. Every crime I know about going back 12 years. Elena's voice was steel now. I created this monster. The least I can do is help put him away. Evelyn stood up. This conversation was over. She had nothing left to say to this woman. No more questions. No desire for more explanations. Elena had helped her and betrayed her and helped her again. And Evelyn would spend the rest of her life untangling how she felt about that. Wait, Elena said as Evelyn reached the door. One more thing. The house in Brooklyn Heights, the one Adrian burned. What about it? It was insured, heavily insured. Adrian took out a policy 3 weeks ago, right after the wedding, made himself the beneficiary. Evelyn turned around. He insured my house and then burned it down. For $2 million. The policy pays out to the owner of record, which is technically him since the deed was transferred. Elena pulled a folded paper from her jumpsuit pocket, slid it across the table. This is a copy of the policy documents. Adrian doesn't know I have it. He thinks all copies were destroyed in the fire. Evelyn picked up the paper. Insurance fraud on top of everything else. Another charge. Another piece of evidence. Why are you giving me this? Because that insurance money is yours. Your house, your loss. Adrian shouldn't profit from burning it down. Elena met her eyes. Give it to your lawyer. Let him fight for it. At least get something back from this disaster. Evelyn folded the paper and put it in her pocket. Then, without another word, she left the room. Martinez was waiting in the hallway. You okay? I don't know what I am. Evelyn rubbed her face. Can you take me to Lydia's? I need to sleep, or try to. But when they arrived at Lydia's apartment building, there was a crowd outside. News vans, reporters, cameras. Someone had leaked the story. Adrian's arrest was already on the evening news, and reporters had tracked down his wife's location. Mrs. Volkov, how do you feel about your husband's arrest? Were you aware of his criminal activities? Is it true he threatened your children? Martinez pushed through the crowd, shielding Evelyn. They made it to the building entrance, but the reporters kept shouting questions, kept pushing, kept filming. Lydia buzzed them in and slammed the door behind them. This is insane, Lydia said. They've been out there for 2 hours. I called the police, but they said there's nothing they can do. Freedom of the press. Evelyn sank onto the couch. She could hear the reporters outside, their voices muffled but persistent. Her phone was ringing constantly. Unknown numbers, news organizations, Her voicemail was full. "I can't stay here," she said. "This is only going to get worse." "Where will you go? You don't have a house anymore." "Hotel, somewhere quiet, under a fake name." Martinez was already on her phone. "I have a contact at the bureau who handles witness protection. Not full protection, but temporary relocation. Safe house situation. Give me an hour." An hour later, Evelyn was packing a bag with Lydia's clothes since all of hers had burned with the house. Martinez returned with an address in Queens, a bland apartment building with security and no press. "It's not fancy," Martinez warned, "but it's secure, and nobody will find you there." They snuck out through the building's service entrance, avoiding the reporters. The drive to Queens was quiet. Evelyn watched the city pass by, all those millions of people living their normal lives while hers had imploded. The safe house apartment was exactly what Martinez had promised, not fancy. 2 bedrooms, basic furniture, nothing personal or memorable. But it was quiet, private, safe. "I'll have an agent posted outside," Martinez said, "just in case. And here's a burner phone. Only call people you absolutely trust." After Martinez left, Evelyn stood in the empty living room and tried to figure out what to do next. It was 10 at night. She should sleep, should eat, should do something productive. Instead, she called Michael. He answered on the 5th ring. "Mom." "Hi, sweetheart. I wanted to let you know that Adrian was arrested. It's over." Silence. Then, "The police told us. They said we don't need protection anymore." "That's right. You're safe. You and Emma and Sarah, you're all safe now." "Good. That's good." His voice was strained. "Mom, I need to say something, and I need you to just listen." "Okay." "I was angry when this started, furious at you for bringing this man into our lives, for putting Emma at risk. And I said things I regret, things that were cruel." "You had every right." "Let me finish, please." He took a breath. "I was angry, but I was also scared, terrified, and I took that fear out on you because you were the easiest target. But Dad would have been ashamed of me for that." Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. "Your father would have been proud of you. You protected your family. Dad would have told me to protect you too, to support you, not to blame you for being human." Michael's voice cracked. "You made a mistake. You trusted someone you shouldn't have. But you also fixed it. You fought back. You stopped him. That took real courage, Mom." "I don't feel very courageous." "You never do when you're the one doing it. That's what Dad used to say." Michael was crying now too. "I'm sorry for being angry, for not answering your calls, for making this harder than it already was." "You're my son. You're allowed to be angry." "Yeah, but I'm also supposed to love you. Even when you mess up, especially when you mess up." He paused. "Sarah and Emma want to talk to you, if that's okay." "More than okay." Evelyn spent the next 20 minutes talking to her daughter-in-law and granddaughter. Sarah was kind, supportive, asking if Evelyn needed anything. Emma was confused about why they'd had police at the house, but mostly excited to tell her grandmother about a loose tooth. Normal, sweet. The kind of conversation that reminded Evelyn why she'd fought so hard. After they hung up, she called Jennifer. That conversation was harder. Jennifer was still angry, still processing, but she agreed to visit once things calmed down. Agreed to let Evelyn see the boys. It wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was a start. By midnight, Evelyn was finally alone with her thoughts. She took a shower, put on borrowed pajamas, and lay in the unfamiliar bed in the unfamiliar apartment. Tomorrow she'd have to deal with lawyers, insurance companies, the press. Tomorrow she'd have to start rebuilding her life from nothing. But tonight, Adrian was in jail. Her children were safe. And she was still here, still breathing, still fighting. That had to count for something. The next morning, Evelyn woke to her burner phone ringing, Daniel Hayes calling at 7 in the morning. "Turn on the news," he said without preamble. "Channel 7? She found a TV in the living room, flipped to the news. And there it was, Adrian's arraignment. He stood in an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed, face blank as the judge read the charges. Wire fraud, extortion, arson, witness intimidation, conspiracy to commit fraud. The list went on and on. "The prosecution is requesting no bail," the reporter said. "They argue that Mr. Volkov is a flight risk with significant resources and international connections." The judge agreed. No bail. Adrian would stay in jail until trial. Evelyn watched as they led him away. He looked at the cameras, at the reporters, at the world watching his downfall. And for just a moment, his mask slipped. She saw fear there. Real, genuine fear. Good, Daniel called back. That's just the arraignment. The trial won't happen for months, maybe a year. But with Elena's testimony and the evidence we have, the prosecutor is confident. What about my money? The accounts? That's more complicated. Some of it will be unfrozen once the investigation wraps up. But the property transfers, the LLC ownership, the insurance money, all of that is going to require litigation. We're talking years of legal battles, Evelyn. And a lot of it depends on whether we can prove the documents you signed were fraudulent. So I might never get it back. You'll get some of it. How much is hard to say? Daniel paused. But there's good news. The insurance policy Elena gave you? That's insurance fraud, clear cut. Adrian's lawyers can't defend it. We're filing a claim today and I'm confident we'll win. That's $2 million right there. $2 million. Not everything she'd lost, but enough to start over. Enough to breathe. There's something else, Daniel said. The other women Adrian targeted, their families are filing civil suits. They want to join forces, create a class action against him and his mother. They're asking if you want to be part of it. What would that involve? Testimony, depositions, publicity. It would keep you tied to this case for years, but it would also send a message. And it might help recover assets for everyone involved. Evelyn thought about the woman in Chicago who'd disappeared, the woman in Phoenix who'd died in a fall, the others whose names she didn't even know. I'm in. Good. I'll send you the details. Daniel's voice softened. How are you holding up? I'm alive. That's about all I can say right now. That's enough. Just keep being alive. The rest will come. The days after Adrian's arrest blurred together. Evelyn gave statements to police, FBI, prosecutors. She met with the families of the other victims, women who looked at her with a mixture of sympathy and envy. Sympathy because they knew what she'd been through. Envy because she'd survived and their loved ones hadn't. The media attention was relentless. Every news outlet wanted her story. Book publishers called offering deals. Producers wanted to turn her nightmare into a movie. She refused them all. A week after the arrest, Chen called with news. Dmitry Petrov is cooperating fully. He's given us access to financial records showing the full extent of Adrian's operation. Offshore accounts, shell companies, properties purchased with stolen money. It's massive, Evelyn. We're talking tens of millions across 7 different victims. Can any of it be recovered? Some of it. The prosecutors are working with international authorities to freeze assets. But it's complicated. Adrian was smart about how he hid the money. Of course he was. But here's the important thing. Dmitry is testifying that Adrian specifically instructed him to falsify documents, to pressure you into signing things you didn't understand. That's fraud, prosecutable fraud. Combined with Elena's testimony, we have a rock-solid case. Rock solid. The word should have brought relief. Instead, Evelyn just felt tired. 2 weeks after the arrest, she met with a therapist Lydia had recommended, Dr. Sarah Brennan, a woman in her 60s who specialized in trauma and recovery. I don't know what I'm supposed to feel, Evelyn admitted in their first session. I'm angry, relieved, guilty, embarrassed, all of it at once, and none of it makes sense. It doesn't have to make sense, Dr. Brennan said gently. You experienced a profound betrayal by someone you loved, someone you trusted. That kind of trauma doesn't follow a logical pattern. I keep thinking about the wedding, about hiding under the bed, about how stupid I was. You weren't stupid. You were hopeful. There's a difference. Hopeful people don't do their due diligence. They don't ask hard questions. They just sign whatever's put in front of them because they're so desperate to believe someone loves them. Is that what you think happened? You were desperate? Evelyn was quiet for a long moment. I was lonely. Richard had been gone for 3 years. My kids had their own lives. And then this handsome, charming man paid attention to me, made me feel seen, wanted. I didn't want to question it because I didn't want it to stop. That's human. That's not stupid. It feels stupid. It feels vulnerable. And vulnerability is terrifying, especially when it's been exploited. Dr. Brennan leaned forward. But Evelyn, you did something most people in your situation don't do. You fought back. You didn't let him win. He burned down my house. He threatened my grandchildren. He took almost everything from me. That feels like winning. He's in jail. You're free. Your children are safe. Your life, while changed, is still yours to live however you choose. Dr. Brennan smiled. That's not nothing. 3 weeks after the arrest, Evelyn moved out of the safe house and into a small rental apartment in the West Village. It was expensive, too expensive really, but Daniel assured her the insurance money would come through soon and she'd be able to afford it. Jennifer came to visit with the boys. They were cautious at first, these two 7-year-olds who'd been told their grandmother was in danger. But Evelyn had bought them books and toys, and within an hour they were playing on the floor while she and Jennifer talked in the kitchen. They ask about you, Jennifer said. Wonder when they can see you again. Any time. I'm not going anywhere. Good. Jennifer stirred her coffee. I've been thinking about what happened, about how I reacted. I was scared and I lashed out. You were protecting your children. I understand that. Yeah, but I also judged you for falling in love, for taking a chance, for trying to be happy after Dad died. Jennifer looked up, her eyes wet. And that wasn't fair. You deserve to try for happiness. I deserve better judgment too. Maybe. But hindsight is easy. In the moment, you did what felt right, and when you realized it was wrong, you fixed it. Jennifer reached across the table and took Evelyn's hand. I'm proud of you, Mom, for fighting back, for not giving up. Those words from her daughter who'd been so angry, who'd had every right to stay angry, broke something loose in Evelyn's chest. She cried, and Jennifer cried, and the boys looked up from their toys with worried faces until Evelyn assured them these were happy tears. After they left, Evelyn sat in her new apartment and looked around. It wasn't much. Rental furniture, bare walls, no memories yet, but it was hers, clean, safe, a place to start over. Her phone buzzed. A text from Martinez. Trial date set. 8 months from now. You ready? 8 months to prepare, to testify, to face Adrian again in court and tell her story in front of a jury. Evelyn typed back, I'm ready. A month after the arrest, Daniel called with the news about the insurance money. The claim was approved, $2 million minus legal fees. It'll hit your account by the end of the week. How much are the legal fees? For this particular claim, about $300,000. But Evelyn, there's more. The civil suit is moving forward. We've identified assets in 4 countries that can be seized. Between you and the other victims' families, we're looking at potentially recovering $20 million. $20 million split among 7 families. Not what they'd lost, but something. Restitution. Justice in the form of numbers in a bank account. When will we know? Could be years. These international seizures take time, but the lawyers are optimistic. Evelyn thanked him and hung up. She looked at her bank account, still mostly frozen, still mostly empty. By the end of the week, she'd have close to $2 million. Enough to buy a new house, start a new life, move somewhere Adrian's name wouldn't follow her. Or she could stay. Fight. Make sure his trial was front-page news, make sure everyone knew what he'd done, make sure no other woman ever fell for his lies. She called Dr. Brennan. I need to talk through something. I have an opening this afternoon. Come in. That afternoon, sitting in Dr. Brennan's office, Evelyn talked through her options. Run or stay, hide or fight. Start over somewhere new or rebuild here in the city she'd always called home. What do you want to do? Dr. Brennan asked. I want to stop being afraid. I want to stop looking over my shoulder. I want to feel like myself again. And who is yourself? Evelyn thought about the woman she'd been 3 years ago when Richard died. Quiet, comfortable, content with her routines and her rental properties and her book club. Then she thought about the woman she'd been 2 months ago, hiding under a bed in a wedding dress. Desperate, naive, willing to ignore warning signs because she wanted so badly to be loved. And then she thought about the woman she was now, angry, scarred, but also stronger, sharper, unwilling to be a victim. I don't know who I am anymore, she admitted, but I want to find out. Then stay, face the trial, rebuild here, let yourself become whoever you're meant to be next. That evening, Evelyn stood at the window of her rental apartment watching the city lights come on. Somewhere out there, Adrian sat in a cell waiting for his trial. Elena sat in another cell, preparing to testify against her own son. Dmitri was in protective custody, turning over evidence, and Evelyn was here, free, alive, furious and broken and determined. She picked up her phone and called Michael. I need a favor. Anything. I want to see Emma. And I want you to come too. All of you. I want my family here. When? This weekend. I'll make dinner. Or order dinner. I can't really cook right now, but I want us all together. We'll be there, Mom. That weekend, her apartment filled with family. Michael and Sarah and Emma, Jennifer and her husband Tom and the twin boys. They ordered pizza and played games, and for a few hours, Evelyn forgot about trials and testimony and the man who'd tried to destroy her. As she watched her grandchildren play, Emma showing the boys how to build a tower with blocks, Evelyn realized something. Adrian had taken her house, her money, her sense of safety, but he hadn't taken this, her family, her children's love, her grandchildren's laughter. He'd tried to take everything, and he'd failed. That was worth fighting for. The trial began on a Tuesday morning in October, 8 months after Adrian's arrest. Evelyn sat in the front row of the courtroom wearing a navy suit Lydia had helped her pick out. Professional but not expensive. Strong but not showy. She wanted the jury to see her as she was, a woman who'd been conned, not a wealthy victim looking for sympathy. Adrian sat at the defense table in a tailored suit, his lawyer whispering in his ear. He looked thinner than he had at the arrest, paler from months in jail, but still handsome in that calculated way of his. When he caught Evelyn's eye, he smiled, small, cruel, like they were sharing a private joke. She didn't look away, didn't flinch, just stared back until he broke eye contact first. The prosecutor, Rebecca Chen, stood to give her opening statement. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is a case about a predator, a man who spent 12 years systematically targeting, manipulating, and destroying vulnerable women for profit. Adrian Volkov didn't commit crimes of passion or desperation. He committed crimes of calculation, of greed, of absolute contempt for human life. Chen walked the jury through the timeline. The other women, the pattern, the marriages that ended in mysterious deaths or disappearances, the money that vanished into offshore accounts. And then Evelyn, the latest target, the one who'd fought back. Adrian's lawyer, a sleek man named Marcus Rothstein, gave his own opening. The prosecution wants you to believe my client is a monster, but what they're really showing you is a series of legal transactions between consenting adults. Mrs. Harper, now Mrs. Volkov, signed documents of her own free will. She married my client knowing full well what a prenuptial agreement entails. And when the marriage encountered difficulties, as marriages do, she decided to cry fraud rather than accept responsibility for her own choices. Evelyn's hands clenched in her lap. Lydia, sitting beside her, squeezed her arm. The first week of trial was technical. Financial experts explaining the shell companies, the offshore accounts, the complex web of transactions Adrian had created. The jury looked bored, confused, overwhelmed by spreadsheets and banking terms. But the second week, they brought in the families. A daughter from Chicago whose mother had disappeared 7 years ago. She testified about how Adrian had swept into her mother's life after her father died, how quickly they'd married, how strange it was that her mother had signed over everything and then vanished without a word. She wouldn't do that, the daughter said, crying on the stand. She wouldn't leave without telling me, without saying goodbye to her grandchildren. Something happened to her, and he knows what. Rothstein cross-examined her viciously. But you have no proof anything happened, do you? No body, no crime scene, just a woman who chose to leave her old life behind. She didn't choose. You don't know that. You're guessing. You're assuming, but you don't actually know. A son from Phoenix whose mother had died in a fall. He testified about how Adrian had been the only person with her when it happened, how the police had ruled it an accident, but the family had never believed it. The railing was solid. She wasn't drunk, she wasn't suicidal, but somehow she just fell. His voice shook with rage. And 3 days later, Adrian was on a plane to Moscow with all her money transferred to his accounts. That's not a coincidence. But again, Rothstein dismantled him. Falls happen. Accidents happen. Your mother was 70 years old. The medical examiner found no evidence of foul play. Your grief is understandable, but it's not evidence. By the end of the second week, Evelyn could see the jury wavering. The families were sympathetic, but Rothstein was right. There was no proof, no bodies, no witnesses, just suspicion and grief. On Monday of the third week, Elena took the stand. She looked smaller in person than she had in the interview rooms. frailer. Her orange jumpsuit hung loose on her frame, and her hands shook as she was sworn in. But when Chen asked her first question, Elena's voice was steady. Ms. Volkov, how long have you been helping your son commit fraud? 12 years, since his father died and left us with nothing. And how many women has your son targeted in that time? 8, including Evelyn Harper. Chen walked her through each case. Names, dates, methods. Elena didn't spare herself or her son. She described how they'd researched targets, created personas, manipulated emotions. How Adrian would spend months courting a woman, learning her vulnerabilities, earning her trust. How Elena would help with background checks, legal documents, exit strategies. And the women who died? Chen asked. Chicago and Phoenix specifically. What can you tell us about them? Elena took a shaky breath. The woman in Chicago, Margaret Chen, she started asking questions. She'd found some documents that didn't make sense. She told Adrian she was going to call her lawyer. He panicked. What did he do? He asked me to help him disappear her. I said no. I told him to just leave, to abandon the con and move on. But Adrian said it was too late for that. She knew too much. Elena's voice dropped to a whisper. He called me 3 days later from Moscow, said the problem was solved, said I didn't need to know details. And you never asked? I didn't want to know. I was a coward. Elena looked at the jury. I knew what he'd done. I knew, and I said nothing. I helped him move money, create new identities, find the next target. I'm as guilty as he is. Rothstein's cross-examination was brutal. He attacked her credibility, her motives, her deal with prosecutors. You're testifying against your own son to save yourself from a longer prison sentence, aren't you? Yes. So why should this jury believe anything you say? You're an admitted liar, a criminal, a woman who helped destroy innocent people for money. And now you're lying again to get a better deal. I'm not lying now. Elena met his eyes. I lied for 12 years. I'm done lying. Convenient timing. Better late than not at all. The courtroom buzzed. The jury looked riveted. For the first time, they were seeing real emotion, real conflict, real stakes. On Thursday of the third week, Evelyn testified. She'd practiced with Chen for hours, knew exactly what questions would be asked and how to answer them. But sitting in the witness box, looking out at the packed courtroom, at Adrian's cold eyes and the jury's expectant faces, everything she'd prepared fled her mind. Chen started gently. Mrs. Volkov, can you tell the jury how you met Adrian? Evelyn's mouth was dry. She took a sip of water. At a charity event, he spilled wine on my dress and was very apologetic, very charming. We talked for hours. And what did you talk about? Everything. My late husband, my children, my life. He seemed genuinely interested, like he cared about what I had to say. Evelyn's voice wavered. I hadn't felt that way in years. Chen walked her through the courtship, the proposal, the wedding. Evelyn described signing documents she didn't understand, trusting Adrian because she loved him, believing his reassurances that everything was routine. When did you first suspect something was wrong? My wedding night, I was hiding under the bed. Evelyn felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. I wanted to surprise him. Instead, I heard him talking to his mother, planning how to steal everything from me. She described the conversation, the shock, the fear, how she'd photographed his phone while he slept, how she'd contacted the FBI, how Adrian had burned down her house in retaliation. He threatened my grandchildren, Evelyn said, her voice breaking, described exactly how he'd hurt them if I didn't give him what he wanted. They're 7 and 6 years old, babies, and he talked about killing them like it was nothing. The jury was leaning forward now. Several women had tears in their eyes. Chen played the recording from the Connecticut house. Adrian's voice filled the courtroom, cold and menacing. Michael's daughter, Emma. She walks to school every day, doesn't she? Same route, same time. Very predictable. Evelyn watched the jury react, saw disgust, horror, anger cross their faces. This was what Chen had been building to. Not the financial crimes, which were complex and easy to defend, but this, a man threatening children, undeniable, unforgivable. Then it was Rothstein's turn. He approached the witness stand like a shark circling prey. Mrs. Volkov, you claim you didn't understand the documents you signed, but you're an educated woman, aren't you? Yes. You ran a successful rental property business for years. You managed significant investments. You weren't some naive girl. You were a 52-year-old businesswoman. That's true. So why didn't you read the documents more carefully? Why didn't you ask questions? Why didn't you hire your own lawyer to review everything before signing? Evelyn took a breath. This was the question she dreaded. The one that made her look stupid, careless, complicit in her own victimization. Because I trusted him. Because I was in love. Because I wanted to believe someone could want me for me, not my money. She looked directly at Rothstein. I made a mistake. I trusted the wrong person. But that doesn't make what he did legal. It doesn't make it right. No, but it does make you partially responsible for what happened. I'm responsible for trusting him. He's responsible for exploiting that trust. Those aren't the same thing. Rothstein tried to shake her, to make her angry, to get her to contradict herself. But Evelyn had spent 8 months preparing for this. 8 months working with Dr. Brennan on staying calm, staying focused, staying true to her story. Finally, Rothstein dismissed her. As Evelyn stepped down from the witness stand, she looked at Adrian one last time. He wasn't smiling anymore. He looked worried. Good. The trial lasted 6 weeks total. Dmitri testified about the financial fraud, the falsified documents, the instructions Adrian had given him. FBI agents testified about the evidence they'd gathered. Financial experts explained how the money had been moved and hidden. And through it all, Adrian sat silent at the defense table, his face a mask of indifference. Finally, closing arguments. Chen was passionate. Adrian Volkov is a predator who spent 12 years destroying women for profit. He manipulated them, stole from them, and when they became inconvenient, he eliminated them. The evidence is overwhelming. The pattern is clear. And the defendant's own words, recorded in Connecticut, show you exactly who he is. A man without conscience, without remorse, without humanity. Find him guilty. Protect the next woman he would have targeted. End this now. Rothstein's closing was clinical. The prosecution has shown you a lot of tragic stories, a lot of grief, a lot of suspicion. But they haven't shown you proof beyond a reasonable doubt that Adrian Volkov committed murder. The women who died in accidents. The woman who disappeared of her own free will. You cannot convict a man of murder without a body, without a weapon, without evidence. As for the fraud charges, yes, my client benefited from his marriages. But that's not illegal. What is illegal is for a bitter ex-wife to weaponize the justice system because her marriage failed. The jury deliberated for 3 days. Evelyn spent those days in her apartment, unable to eat, unable to sleep, unable to think about anything except 12 strangers deciding her fate. Martinez called with updates. The jury had requested to review the Connecticut recording 4 times. That was good. They'd asked for clarification on the fraud statutes. Also good. They were taking this seriously. On the 3rd day, the call came. Verdict reached. Evelyn arrived at the courthouse with Lydia, Michael, and Jennifer. Her children had taken time off work to be there for the verdict. Their presence steadied her. The jury filed in. Evelyn searched their faces for clues but found nothing. They wouldn't look at Adrian. That was supposed to mean something, but she couldn't remember what. The judge asked the foreman to stand. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. On the charge of wire fraud, how do you find? Guilty. Evelyn's vision blurred. She grabbed Lydia's hand. On the charge of extortion? Guilty. On the charge of witness intimidation? Guilty. Charge after charge. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Guilty. Insurance fraud. Guilty. Arson. Guilty. Adrian's face stayed blank, but his hands clenched on the table. Rothstein was already whispering to him, probably about appeals. The judge thanked the jury and set a sentencing date for 3 weeks later. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Evelyn gave a brief statement that Chen had helped her prepare. Justice has been served today. Adrian Volkov is a dangerous man who destroyed multiple lives for profit. I'm grateful to the jury, to the FBI, to everyone who helped bring him to justice. And to the families of the other victims, I hope this verdict brings some measure of peace. Michael put his arm around her shoulders as they pushed through the crowd to the waiting car. You did it, Mom. You actually did it. We did it, she corrected. All of us. 3 weeks later, Evelyn returned to the courthouse for sentencing. Adrian stood before the judge in his orange jumpsuit, No longer the polished businessman who'd charmed her at that charity event. Just a criminal waiting to hear his fate. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s named Patricia Morrison. She'd reviewed the evidence, read the victim impact statements, considered the prosecution's recommendations. Mr. Volkov, you have been convicted of 15 separate felonies spanning 12 years and affecting 8 known victims. The pattern of your crime shows a complete disregard for the law, for human life, for basic morality. You targeted vulnerable women, exploited their trust, stole their assets, and in at least 2 cases may have murdered them when they became inconvenient. While this court cannot convict you of murder based on the evidence presented, I can and will consider it in determining your sentence. Adrian's lawyer started to object, but the judge held up a hand. You are 43 years old. If you were to serve the minimum sentence on these charges, you would be eligible for parole in 20 years. You would be 63, still young enough to victimize more women, still dangerous. Judge Morrison looked at him over her reading glasses. I will not allow that. This court sentences you to the maximum penalty on all counts, to be served consecutively. That's 140 years in federal prison without possibility of parole. The courtroom erupted. Adrian's face went white. Rothstein was on his feet, shouting about appeals. But it was over. Adrian Volkov would die in prison. Evelyn felt nothing at first. Then relief crashed over her like a wave. She turned to Jennifer and Michael, and they were all crying, holding each other, years of fear and anger finally releasing. Outside the courthouse, the families of the other victims were celebrating. The daughter from Chicago hugged Evelyn. Thank you. Thank you for fighting when my mother couldn't. Elena was sentenced 2 weeks later. She pleaded guilty to conspiracy, fraud, and accessory to multiple crimes. In exchange for her testimony, she received 30 years. She was 73. She'd die in prison too, just like her son. Evelyn attended that sentencing as well. When it was over, she asked to speak to Elena one last time. The guards arranged a brief meeting in a holding room. Elena looked ancient now, broken. I don't expect forgiveness, she said. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything, for creating the monster who hurt you, for helping him do it, for waiting so long to stop him. I don't forgive you, Evelyn said honestly. I don't know if I ever will, but I understand why you did what you did. Fear, love, misguided loyalty. I understand all of that. You're a better person than I am. No, just luckier. I had people who helped me fight back. Your sister didn't. The other women didn't. Evelyn stood to leave. I hope you spend your time in prison thinking about them, about what you could have done differently, about the lives that might have been saved if you'd been braver sooner. I will, every day. That was the last time Evelyn saw Elena Volkov. The civil suits took another year to resolve, but eventually assets were seized from accounts in 4 countries. $23 million recovered in total. Split among the 8 victims' families, it came to just under $3 million each. Combined with the insurance money, Evelyn had $5 million. Not what she'd started with, but enough. More than enough. She bought a brownstone in Park Slope, smaller than the one that had burned but charming in its own way. She furnished it slowly, carefully, choosing each piece herself instead of hiring a decorator. She wanted this house to be hers in a way the old one never had been. Michael and his family visited for Thanksgiving. Jennifer and her family came for Christmas. Evelyn's apartment filled with the noise of grandchildren, the smell of cooking, the warmth of family. On New Year's Eve, Lydia came over with champagne. They sat in Evelyn's new living room, watching the snow fall outside. To surviving, Lydia said, raising her glass. To more than surviving, Evelyn corrected. To living. They drank to that. In the year that followed, Evelyn started a foundation, the Harper Foundation for Financial Literacy and Elder Protection. It offered free legal advice to people navigating late-life relationships, provided resources for recognizing financial fraud, and supported families of victims who'd been targeted by predators like Adrian. She hired a staff of 3, started a hotline, created educational materials, worked with law enforcement to identify warning signs and prevent future cases. It wasn't glamorous work. Most days were spent on the phone with scared people, reviewing legal documents, connecting victims with resources. But it mattered. It made a difference. A woman called in March. She was 58, recently widowed, being courted by a man who seemed too good to be true. He was pushing her to sign financial documents, to marry quickly, to trust him. Evelyn talked to her for 2 hours, explained the warning signs, connected her with a lawyer, helped her run a background check that revealed the man had been married 4 times in 6 years, always to wealthy widows. The woman broke off the relationship, blocked his number, filed a police report. One woman saved. One predator stopped. Evelyn hung up the phone and allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. This was what she'd been looking for. Purpose. Meaning. A way to turn her nightmare into something useful. Dr. Brennan told her she was doing well in their sessions. The nightmares had decreased. The anxiety was manageable. She was rebuilding her life in healthy ways. "Do you still think about Adrian?" Dr. Brennan asked during one session. "Sometimes, but not the way I used to. I don't think about what I lost anymore. I think about what I learned." Which is? That love shouldn't require you to ignore your instincts. That trust is earned, not given. That being alone is better than being with someone who sees you as a target. Evelyn paused. "And that I'm stronger than I thought I was." "You are. You survived something that destroyed other women. You fought back when it would have been easier to give up. That takes remarkable strength. I had help. Lydia, Daniel, Martinez, my children. I couldn't have done it alone. No one does anything alone, but you were the one who chose to fight. That was your decision, your courage." On the 2nd anniversary of her wedding to Adrian, Evelyn went to the courthouse and filed for divorce. It was a formality, really. Adrian was in prison and would never be released. But she wanted it official, wanted her name back, wanted to erase the last legal tie binding her to him. The judge granted the divorce in 10 minutes. Evelyn Harper walked out of the courthouse no longer married to a criminal. Just a woman, free, whole. She went to the cemetery afterward. Richard's grave. She hadn't been there in years, too consumed with Adrian and the trial and rebuilding her life. "I'm sorry," she said to the headstone. "I'm sorry I moved on so quickly. I'm sorry I didn't honor what we had by being more careful. I'm sorry I let someone like him into the life we built together." The wind rustled through the trees. Evelyn stood there for a long time, thinking about her 28 years with Richard. Good years. Comfortable years. Not passionate maybe, but stable, safe, real. "I learned something, though," she continued. "I learned that loneliness makes you vulnerable, that grief makes you desperate, that the need for connection can override common sense. But I also learned that I can survive almost anything, that I'm tougher than I knew, that even at 54 I can start over." She touched the headstone. "I think you'd be proud of me, for fighting back, for protecting our family, for turning something terrible into something good." She left flowers and walked back to her car. As she drove home through the city, Evelyn thought about the future. She'd been so focused on surviving, on getting through the trial, on rebuilding what she'd lost. But now, for the first time in 2 years, she could think about what came next. She was 54 years old. She had money, a foundation, her health, her family. She had time to figure out who she wanted to be in this next chapter of her life. Maybe she'd travel. Maybe she'd go back to school. Maybe she'd just enjoy her grandchildren and her work and the simple pleasure of living without fear. Whatever she chose, it would be her choice. Not dictated by a con artist, not shaped by trauma, just her, deciding her own path. That night, Emma called on video chat. She'd lost another tooth and wanted to show her grandmother. "Look, Grandma, the tooth fairy is coming tonight." "That's wonderful, sweetheart. Did you write her a note?" "Yes, I asked for $5 and a new toy." "That's ambitious. The tooth fairy in my day only gave quarters." Emma giggled. "That's because you're old, Grandma." "Very old," Evelyn agreed, smiling. After the call, she sat in her new living room in her new house and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Contentment. Not happiness exactly, not yet, but peace. Acceptance of what had happened and what came next. The foundation hotline rang. Evelyn answered it, ready to help whoever was on the other end, ready to share what she'd learned, ready to prevent another woman from making the same mistakes she had. Because that was the thing about surviving trauma. You could let it destroy you, or you could let it teach you. You could hide from the world, or you could step into it stronger than before. Evelyn had chosen to be stronger. And every day, in small ways, she helped other women make that same choice. Adrian Volkov had tried to break her. He'd stolen her money, burned her house, threatened her family, and nearly destroyed her life. But he hadn't broken her. She was still here, still fighting, still living. And he was in a cell, facing 140 years behind bars, his name synonymous with fraud and cruelty and cowardice. That felt like justice. Not perfect justice, maybe. The other women were still gone. The family still grieved. The money couldn't undo the pain. But it was something. It was enough. Evelyn finished her call with a woman in Texas who'd been targeted by a man similar to Adrian. She provided resources, made referrals, offered support. When she hung up, she felt that familiar satisfaction. One more woman protected, one more predator exposed. She walked to the window and looked out at her street, neighbors walking dogs, kids playing, normal life happening all around her. She was part of that normal life now. Not a victim, not a cautionary tale, just a woman who'd been knocked down and got back up. Who'd lost everything and rebuilt. Who'd learned that strength doesn't mean you never fall. It means you get up every single time. And Evelyn had gotten up, was still getting up, would keep getting up for as long as it took. Because that's what survivors do. They endure, they adapt, they find meaning in the wreckage and build something new from the ashes. Adrian had given her fire. She'd used it to forge steel. And that steel would protect not just her, but every woman who called the foundation, every family who needed help, every person trying to navigate the dangerous waters of trust and love and vulnerability in a world where predators existed. Evelyn Harper had survived. And now she was making sure others would too. That was legacy. That was purpose. That was enough.